What's going on today, Internet? Selfish here with Retrospect, and I realized with a December or January refresh of the Miyoo Minis with possible horizontal and flip designs, after 6 months, I haven't talked about the Miyoo Mini Plus on its own yet. So let's go take a look.
Retrospect!
The Miyoo Mini Plus might be one of the best devices for dads, and let's just talk about that for a minute. You can do most things on this device with one hand, including playing games. There's hundreds, if not thousands of games on here you can play one-handed. And there are a lot of games that maybe you wanted to catch up on from back in the day. A little hard with Zelda if you got to cut some grass, but there are some other games out there that you can do one-handed that really make this device worth it. And if you've ever had kids or if you plan to in the future, you know that you only ever have maybe one hand free. And this device is great for that. It's also very pocketable. But before we get into all those things, let's take a look at what the unboxing experience would be like if we were to get a Miyoo Mini Plus today. There's two different ways that they ship this device. That was not two, but you get the point. If you order it with the case, they typically come in the case. Now, I've used the stuff in here, but you'll usually have a screen cover, a card reader, and a Type-C charging cable right here, and it'll come with the case, and it'll be shipped in the case because that is absolutely the safest way to ship this device. Now, if you don't order it with a case, I just happen to have a couple here I'm setting up for a friend right now, and they come in a neat little box like this, so I thought it'd be a good unboxing experience. Same stuff comes if you order it in a case, it just doesn't come in this cool box. For what you pay for a Miyoo Mini Plus, I think that Miyoo Mini's done a pretty decent job of making it a wholesome experience to unbox. I don't think unboxing has anything to do with these devices. I actually rather have it come in the case. It's probably about the same cost to the company, the case and the box, but this is going to be your unboxing experience. You're going to open it up, you are going to have word paper, which will tell you how to use the stock operating system, which I don't use on any of my devices. As you'll see soon, this is the OnionOS, and you will see that in action here shortly. On top of that, you do get your Miyoo Mini device. You get a micro USB dongle, so you can put your ROMs on here. You do also get Type-C cables, and you get your screen covers and your wipes. Pretty exciting, right? Put those things aside, and inside this fancy little bag here, you get a Miyoo Mini Plus. Let's move these out of the way. All right, so before we go any further, I am going to go through the I/O with you real quick. Miyoo Mini's been out for a while. A million people have done this, so we'll just go through everything in this video pretty quick. I don't want it to be a long video by any means. I just realized with the new devices, I needed to start talking about the old one first, as well as the launch of the 35XX Plus, which I do have a review coming up for. That way, maybe you can get a better comparison of the two devices. So here we do, as we always do, we'll start on the top. On the top here, we do have our power button. Moving on to the back, we do have our trigger buttons, R1, L1, L2, R2, and we do have a removable battery, which is pretty dope. This is one of the first devices that came with removable battery. A lot of companies have been copying it now. You'll see in some new devices that are coming out, because these battery backs, especially on the original Miyoo Mini, had an issue with falling off, that companies are starting to put them on, but screw them on, which kind of makes sense. Adding another screw, more protection is good. On the left side here, we do have our volume up and down buttons. We will talk about those here in a minute. On your right-hand side, you have nothing. On your bottom, you do have your 355 hole for putting headphones in. You also have a micro SD hole, which for some reason has a sticker on it on this device. And you do have your Type-C hole, and this is for charging and data transfer. On the front here, you do have your D-pad. The Miyoo Mini is known for having one of the best D-pads, and honestly, it does have one of the best D-pads out of any of these little handhelds, especially the vertical handhelds. You do have a menu button, you have your face buttons, and your start and select buttons. These face buttons feel good, D-pad feels good, everything on here feels really good. Now, when you're powering your device for the first time, it will take a little bit longer, but this will just give you a side-by-side of what the two operating systems look like. There's a lot more availability when you start to go with something like OnionOS, including the ability to play Pokemon between two devices or play Ninja Turtles or something like that. As long as you have the same ROM and the same core, you're typically able to play two-player games if you have two devices, which is how I have these two set up. Okay, so you get that cool spa music in the background that's really soothing that we're going to turn off, or at least turn down. So this is your interface coming right from the box. You have your RetroArch on here, so you can set up your emulators and your cores in RetroArch. You do have an app section. This section will give you apps that are apparently not going to be in English, which is nor here nor there because I am going to put OnionOS on this device as soon as we're done here. I already have it loaded onto an SD card for my friend. We do have a settings tab. This will give you the ability to connect your Wi-Fi and things like that, which I will also do and make sure that we're up to date before I put Onion on here. If you don't update it before you put Onion on it and it has a really old OS on it, you might run into an issue where your Wi-Fi doesn't work, even without putting Onion on there. So make sure you're up to date on your stock operating system prior to putting Onion on here. It's an old problem. I'm not sure if it's still a problem, but it was a problem for a while. You have your recent favorites, and then obviously your game library. In here, you're going to see all your different gaming systems, everything from Famicom all the way up to PlayStation 1, everything in between. You have the ability to do Pico on here. You got SCUMV access, all that fun stuff. but some of that stuff isn't that accessible on the factory operating system. We move along to this device over here that's already set up on OnionOS, and as you can see, I've done a PlayStation overlay. Onion PS is the name of this. There's over 50 overlays and themes that are set up on this once you put OnionOS on here with the newest version. This does give you a little bit more accessibility, including an expert mode, which will give you access to other emulators that aren't built into RetroArch. So if you're running into issues running a game, you have the ability to go in here and actually tweak it more like you would a more powerful system, which is fantastic. You do have an apps area. One thing that's really awesome about Onion is it does have an over-the-air update section. So you're actually able to update your device's OTA, which is phenomenal. Another thing you can do that's pretty new is there is a clock function for you Pokemon fans out there. I'm not a Pokemon player, so I've never used it, but Syncthing is a huge thing on here too. A lot of people kind of went crazy when I posted a picture of Syncthing. I don't think anybody realizes you can put Syncthing on here, and it's just a matter of installing it through the root on the device. And I may make a video on it at some point in time, but it's really just using that tiny little keyboard in the terminal menu and just effing it up a whole bunch because you can't see what you're typing because the keyboard on these things is minute. In your settings here, it looks most the same. So you have your sleep timers, all that kind of stuff. And then we still have our favorites and recents, but then we have our game mode. I've added Drastic OS, which gives you the ability to play DS games, not available on the stock OS, but you are able to do that on here. This will actually give me a good opportunity to also show you the game switcher mode. And all you really have to do is one tap on the menu button. It'll bring up your previously played games. You can go through those games on here and decide what you want to play, which is pretty neat. I'm just going to give you an example of what it's like to play a DS game on here, because I don't think that every DS game needs to have two screens. And I think that anybody who's had a DS before knows this. Also, if you didn't notice when I'm hitting volume, so if I go up, see how it's going down or muting? This is an issue with these devices, and I've got multiples of these devices, so this thing drives me nuts. It is what it is, I guess. So there's different ways you can set up the screens. I have mine set up to be independent and use the R2 button to flip back and forth. I don't see in a game like this any reason to see this map. So that's really what that other screen is in this game, for example, and it's like this in a lot of games. You're probably not going to play Call of Duty because you have to use that other screen in order to do all your crouching and jumping and shooting. So it would be rather difficult because your players on one screen, but your character movements are on another screen. I could see that maybe being a difficult game to do this on. But other than that, I mean, if I need to see where everybody else is, I just hit R2. There they are. You can still kind of control your player. You can even see the bananas on the road. Not too bad. And there's so many good DS games out there that are like this that you can find some use for this. And as I was saying for one-handed before, I don't have my DS stuff set up this way, but you actually have the ability to set up all these back buttons as your face buttons. So you can set up a gas pedal and everything else. And while you're with your kids, you can just use one hand and use the device. Because really all you need to do on the front is be able to steer. If you played any games with twin sticks, you should be pretty decent at using the shoulder buttons for gas and brake. So there's not a whole lot else to it. And then you're just on your way. But I don't have it set up that way. Oh yeah, maybe I do. Oh, my turbo's on that one. Now, another thing that's really cool about this is once you get to OnionOS, you can actually play games together with your kids. So we have a 9-year-old, and I've hit these set up so that we can play together. And it pretty much just sets up your own terminal network between the two if you are familiar with old LAN parties. And if not, it's just, this is a wireless version of what your nerdy friends did in high school and college, where you'll have the ability to, over the air, have it act like it's using the data link cable. Now, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel here. Russ over at Retro Game Corp did a great job explaining this. So I'm just going to link his video down in my thingamabob, and you can go take a look at it. It really goes through the entire process of how to link the devices together. And he's a lot better explaining that kind of stuff than I am. But some of the other things you get, other than you can add Drastic to this with OnionOS, you also have access to a lot more emulators. And the emulators that are on here, even the ones that were on here before, perform better because they've cleaned up the memory a lot on these. So things like PlayStation play great. I've never played Bloody Roar, but everybody talks about it. So I figure I'd just give it a shot here real quick for you. I don't know any of the special moves here. Oh, look at that. I don't know how I just turned into a cat. I do like me some arcade fighting games, but I just never really played them outside the arcade when I was younger. Now, if you want to get into your menu buttons, what you do is you hit Select and Menu. And this will bring you up into RetroArch where you can actually load, save games. Actually, let's save this. I won 2 in a row, and then I have a place to start next time. So when you're in here, you have access to your entire retro core for the most part. It's not real watered down like some of the other ones are. So this is kind of nice. Way more than you had from the factory. And again, you can set up retro achievements. You can set up any of your hotkeys, things like that. If you want bezels on the side, depending on what system you're playing, if you want to make the actual aspect ratio of the screen, or if you want to stretch a screen, you have the ability to do that through RetroArch, as well as the ability to quit. But at this menu, you can actually just hit the menu button once, so that gives you the ability to play games through Game Switcher, which is pretty freaking cool. Now, as far as retro handsets go, this pretty much is what my definition of a retro handset would be. It's more your DMG style Game Boy layout. It's vertical. I guess that would be your DMG Game Boy style layout. Anyways, this plays games up to PS1, which seem pretty retro at this point, you know, after 20 some years. It's not going to be a powerhouse to play your games like Nintendo Switch, Xbox, things like that. But those in retrospect aren't really retro. I mean, it depends on who you ask, I guess, but they're not that retro. Now, I think that this is also, beyond being something you can play with one hand, probably the most pocketable device of this size. Nothing gets hooked on you. It's small, and it will fit in your pocket. The other thing is, even though these shoulder buttons are set up the way they are, they don't hook when they go in and out of your pocket. And this one actually has, from the factory, offset shoulder buttons, where its competitors with something like the 35XX, they don't. Now, they have changed this on the 35XX Plus, and we will talk about that in my review, but they don't have that offset, and it's really difficult to tell or hit the right button. Just kind of how your hands sit on this, too. They just sit differently on the device. Also, hear these things rattling? It just doesn't feel like a quality device in comparison to this. But again, a lot of those issues were addressed with the new one. The new one is their second attempt at it, so that makes sense, right? So this is the second attempt for Miyoo after the Miyoo Mini. Now we have the Miyoo Mini Plus, and now we have the 35XX Plus. But I can't emphasize enough how nice it is to have different heights on the shoulders buttons. Now I have tried better back buttons on these too. Not a fan. In fact, one set of them broke on its own. I don't know why, but the buttons themselves broke. I mean, I understand that they're 3D printed for the most part, but yeah, they broke right off. But I was unimpressed prior to that happening, so not a big deal. Now that we got some of the nitty gritty out of the way, it's running an ARM Cortex A7 dual-core processor at 1.2 gigahertz. It's got 128 megabytes of RAM. It is running a 3.5 IPS display at 640 by 480. It has a 3000 milliamp battery. It's Type-C for charging, also data transfer and Wi-Fi. It does not have Bluetooth. Oddly, Bluetooth never works on Linux anyways. And secondly, I don't understand why it doesn't have Bluetooth. I can't remember the last time I saw a Wi-Fi chip that didn't also have Bluetooth built into it, but that's nor here nor there. You could at least maybe get a game controller out of it instead of headphones. I don't want to throw a whole bunch more information in here because I want to keep this video short today, so we're just going to stop right here. I might have a comparison video after my RG35XX Plus video comes out. I'm not sure. It's almost like the Xbox versus PlayStation war. Everybody has their favorites and nobody's backing down. And there really is no reason in this realm in order to do that. It is a more powerful device than this one. But again, I think this one's more pocketable. It's smaller. I just think that this is a more complete device than the original RG35XX. Again, I haven't finished my stuff for the review for the other one, so I don't really have an opinion of it yet, but it did add a lot of the features from this device into that device to pick up some of its shortcomings. With that out of the way, do you already have a Miyoo Mini Plus or a Miyoo Mini? Are you looking forward to the new ones coming out? It looks like we're going to have a horizontal and a flip come out, hopefully by January. Let me know down in the comments section below. Also, if you're interested in networking your devices together to play games, go check out my thingamabob down below and look at Russ's video. Anyways, that's all I got for you today. If you see anything that you like, don't forget to check the links down to my thingamabob. Also, don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe, and share this video with your friends, because sharing helps grow the channel, and I'm more of a grower than a shower. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Retrospect.
Hey, thanks for sticking around this long. It's been a little chaotic this last couple of weeks, so I do appreciate you making it all the way to the end of the video. If you don't already, because only 1% of the people that make it this far actually subscribe to the channel, why don't you do me a favor and hit that subscribe button? That way you get alerted when other videos like this come out. Also, there's a couple videos over there on the side. One of those videos is going to be good. Maybe. Well, maybe give it a try. If it's not, give it a thumbs down. Let me know what I need to change. Anyways, I'm out.